but you said in that webinar that the whole body breathes, and it just really stood out to me. I thought that was such a beautiful expression. Can you just explain to us again? I know you've already talked about it, but just give us a little bit more about that.
I think you touched on something really important when you were just mentioning how sometimes through the tapping into our breath, especially if this is a new experience, people can experience a real emotional release. So I think, you know, you're quoting me saying the whole body breathes, and now about the body expanding and contracting. But
Yes.
there are so many levels to us as human. I will say, maybe I should say the whole human breathes, because what is a body? And that's another conversation, a bit deep there. But there are so many aspects to what I am. So I am a physical being, and, you know, I can talk about my expansion and my contraction, but of course I cannot separate my physicality from my emotion. I cannot separate my physicality from my emotion. I cannot separate my emotion from my story of what happened to me, especially for people that, you know, like us, have gone through experiencing a lifetime of chronic illness. I cannot separate my, you know, we could even talk about spirit. There are many levels to the being.
Yes.
So the whole being breathes, and breath, perhaps for me, I see it as, and it's a bit of a cliche to use these words that I'm using, but breath can be, it is a continuum, it is a pulsing, like we were talking before, but it's also a portal. For me, it is the portal, it's the gateway, it's the vessel that can communicate my conscious with my unconscious.
Yes.
So I constantly breathe. I took my first breath. You took your first breath when I was born. Yeah, you took yours when you were born, Jeannie. Sorry, no one else would. We take our first breath as we're, you know, brought into the world. We arrive into the world with an in-breath, and we leave the body with an out-breath. So it's a continuum practice, and most of that time that I am practicing to breathe, I am completely unaware that I am doing this, but I am doing it, for sure doing it. Even for those listeners of yours right now that are, you know, living with a lifetime of hypermobility, and how many times they probably have been told, oh, it's because you don't breathe. No, you do breathe, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. So you do. But it's that ability of our consciousness of our breath to bring in the consciousness. We can change the way that we breathe. We can breathe autonomically. We can breathe without paying attention, but we can then come in and breathe what is called cortical breathing. Cortical because we are utilizing the cortical part of our brain, the cortex of our brain, which is where our conscious motor, we can control the motion of our body, so we can control the motion of our breath. So through, like you were saying, coming to tap into our own breath and paying attention to our breath, we can bring the unconscious into the conscious. As we I don't know that I breathe just here. I don't know that I go around life like this. And then I sit there and I do a bit of breathing, and then suddenly I realize that, oh my God, I'm letting go of something that I did never know that I was holding. And it's really through the breath that we get there.
I mean, it's such a powerful thing, and yet, you know, I just don't think it gets enough attention, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. And, you know, this is all about uncovering things that we maybe don't talk about. And, you know, breath, I don't think gets enough. when you're talking about it, you're like, wow, it does so many, obviously breathing is important, obviously, like you say, otherwise we wouldn't be here, but it's so much more than that. It does so much and influences so much. And yet, certainly in my Pilates training, I didn't get taught any of this. It was like, you learn to inhale when you do, what is it? Inhale to prepare, exhale to move, inhale to exhale. And you're so focused, should I be inhaling, exhaling, inhaling? It's just, that's not movement. That's not movement. When I'm so making it so mechanical, how can it be so mechanical when it's so deep and, I think it's just beautiful, and it doesn't get enough attention. So thank you for sharing all of this with us. So we've kind of touched on this about anxiety and stress. You brought up stress, and I think we kind of covered it, but the fact that breath does become an indicator of how we're feeling, that's true, right? It will show if we're upset, if we're stressed, if we're happy. The breath will respond to those emotions. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's an indicator, it's a thermometer of our emotion. So much can be expressed through the breath. In fact, I don't know if you've experienced this. I hope it's okay. I'm going to share something a bit personal. I didn't really think I was going to share this, but it's just come up, and I feel that.
Well, thank you.
So today my dad has gone into hospital with COVID. This morning I got the news that he went into hospital, and my mum was hiding it from me because I'm obviously in a different country, but I heard it in her breath. I heard the anxiety in her breath. And this is not because I am some enlightened being that I can hear things like this, but we know when we are very in touch with someone, especially through a phone call, we can hear the way that they are breathing, the way that they are producing sound, which is also related to their own breath, as well as their vocal cords and other things are of course involved with the production of sound. But it really very much shows our anxiety, our own fear can show in the way that we are breathing. So breath is a thermometer, so that it can really indicate our state of being. It can tell us about our emotion, and then at the same time, through breath, as much as breath does show our state of being and our emotion, it is through our breath that we are also able to change our reality, our sense of how it is, our experience of what it which is our own choice. That is something that we can definitely get to do through our breath.
Yes. Yeah.
But definitely our breath does show our anxiety. It shows our memories. It shows our story. It has a lot of information if you want to listen to it.
Yeah. And like you say, it's just a training or being present in that breath, of noticing it, being conscious of your breath. Because so many times, like you say, we go about our daily lives, we don't even think about it. Unless we have problems. Like I've had pneumonia 3 times, and suddenly breathing becomes a really big issue. You can't breathe, so you start to pay attention.
You have to pay attention, don't you? Yeah.
You realize suddenly how important it is.